Recebemos agora em palco Larry Walsh, Chief Analyst and CEO do Channelnomics, com o tema Future Channel Challenges and the Opportunities They'll Create.
Good morning, everyone. Please, I hope you will forgive my American accent and me speaking English to you this morning. As I said, I'm Larry Walsh from Channelnomics. I am based in New York, but I work globally, and I spend a lot of time here in Europe. And what my company does is, here we are. What my company does is we do research, we provide professional services to vendors, distributors, and partners around the world, and we also develop intelligence on market trends and channel trends. And we translate this into a lot of information that we publish for our clients as well as for companies like all of yours. We do a lot of the same type of work that the large analyst firms do, but we take a specialized focus on supporting you, supporting the vendors and supporting the programs that ultimately end up supporting you. And through this research, we've identified a number of trends that we want to share with you. Now, when they asked me to come speak with you this morning, they wanted me to talk with you about future challenges and opportunities. And this is a place where we are spending a lot of time because we know the world is changing. The world is changing rapidly. And it should be no surprise this is going to be something you've probably heard a million times already over the past 2 years, that the world is not just changing fast, but it's going to change faster. And the conditions under which we are all going to be operating is going to be substantially different over the next 3 to 5 years than we have actually experienced over the last 20. But I want to put this in perspective for you, because as much as we say things are changing, I want to remind you that things are always changing. That what we are actually experiencing here is not a change or a revolution, but is a culmination. This is an accretive process by which technologies build on each other, and the trends that we talked about yesterday are actually still here with us. We are still moving all of this forward, and we're adding new capabilities and new outcomes based on what we've done yesterday. And I will also tell you, and you're going to hear me say this a few times over the next few minutes, is that the changes that they talk with you about are not just going to create new opportunities, but they are going to enhance the things that we've already been doing. So the things that you were doing yesterday, the things that you were doing today, are going to be a part of tomorrow. They're not going to be replaced. To put this into context, this is I can stand up here and talk with you about technologies, talk with you about market numbers, but I want to take a moment to tell you about the things that really matter. And we track these things we call megatrends. And these megatrends are the things that are impacting the world today. They are the things that are creating challenges in the technology market, but they're also creating opportunities. So things like the pandemic experience. Even though we are now fully out of the pandemic now for about 18 to 24 months, we're still living with the consequences of it. We're still trying to learn how to bring the world back into a state of normalcy and how we're supposed to operate. And the pandemic gave us an opportunity as much as created challenges. The pandemic taught us that we could do more with things, with the tools that we have already, that we thought were possible. We're also dealing with changing demographics, and here in Europe, this is a particularly acute challenge. Birth rates are declining, populations are beginning to shrink, and that is having a substantial impact on economic output. Not only is it having an impact on economic output, it's also straining the existing systems as our populations get older, and this is going to call for greater levels of automation. We also track the environmental sustainability effort. Again, Europe is a leader in driving sustainability, and it's not just about preserving the environment, it's about maximizing our energy sources, which is also going to be a challenge for technology development. And then we get into things like our geopolitical tensions. If you look couple of, 1,000 kilometers east of here, there is a substantial war that's going on that has had a substantial impact on all of Europe's economies, and is going to continue as those tensions continue to rise, not just in Ukraine and Russia and across the EU, but also in places like in China and Taiwan. That same impact is also causing shifts in economics. We are moving away from a free market to a more controlled and protectionist markets. We're seeing the economic poles shift around the world. The economic centers of the world are moving from west to east. And that is also causing, these same tensions are causing us to rethink and realign our supply chains, which is having a substantial impact on input costs as well as the commodity costs. The last two I'll say is that accretive model of this continuous innovation and technology has led us to where we are today with digital transformation. And digital transformation has moved from we're putting more workloads into the cloud to where we are digitizing the entire world. Is that every company now is a technology company, or they are entirely dependent on technology. Industries that we never thought would be leveraging automation and software to drive their processes are now rapidly adopting and looking for those tools to make sure that their processes are optimized and their costs are contained. Lastly, and we'll talk more about this, is artificial intelligence. And yes, artificial intelligence is going to have a dramatic impact on the world. Artificial intelligence will change, and I am one of the few people I will say is that will tell you is that artificial intelligence is going to have a big impact over the next 18, 24 months. But it's not going to have the real impact on the world for until the next 5 to 10 years. So this is let's everybody get excited, then we'll get disappointed, and then we'll start to build up again. And we've seen this happen before in other more evolutionary, revolutionary technology trends. So as I said, there are a number of challenges that are being presented to companies like all of yours. But these challenges are also going to create opportunities. So what I'd like to do is we've isolated 8 of these challenges and opportunities I'd like to go forward with you in detail. Because I think it's important, because as much as these trends or these issues will hamper development and adoption of certain technologies, they also will open up new opportunities for you to engage and support your customers. There is something that, as I travel around the world, that I hear consistently, particularly from the vendors, when they talk with their customers, when they talk with your customers, is that the pace of change requires that they work with you. They are actively saying that if you really want to get the benefit out of the marvelous new innovations that are coming, that they have to work with companies like all of yours. So let's start with artificial intelligence. And by law, I'm supposed to say artificial intelligence at least 10 times during this presentation, so please be prepared for it. So we have identified 6 challenges to artificial intelligence adoption. And when I say adoption, I mean by the customers. Use cases. As much as everybody talks about how artificial intelligence is going to revolutionize business processes, use cases or how to actually apply artificial intelligence is still elusive. We do find use cases in 2 places, is that they are either very specialized and unique in their implementations, or they're trapped inside individual applications. So we haven't quite seen this, and the vendors talk with us about is that they're trying to develop reference architectures and use cases to give to all of you so that you can go out and sell and support this technology at scale. And that's going to take time. The other thing is that the infrastructure is insufficient. Is that what the hardware companies will tell you, that they are betting that artificial intelligence adoption will be on premises. It's not going to be in the cloud, or it will only be small portions or bursts into the cloud because it's too expensive to run the workloads up there. That's going to require them to spend a lot on infrastructure. That's a good thing. and that's also an opportunity. The problem is that it's not there today, and so it's going to slow down that adoption. The big one that we see is data hygiene. No business today, I'll almost guarantee this, no business today has the data organized, cleaned enough, or accessible enough to be able to implement true artificial intelligence systems. It's going to require a lot of work, a lot of consulting, a lot of planning. And as much as I've talked with many companies that specialize in this, and they say, oh, it's 2-3 months we'll get this done. It's not as easy as that. And in fact, it even gets harder when you go into smaller businesses, because smaller businesses have terrible data management practices. So there's not just a cleanup, it's also filling in gaps. There's a talent and expertise problem. There's not enough people that are skilled enough in AI to be able to support it. Security, the dynamics of security around AI is changing. And so it's not just about protecting against threats, it's also about protecting against leaks. So that if any of you have used things like, I'm not going to name any of the AI tools, but if there's a few of them, I'm sure you've all heard of them. If you're using it, you're actually giving your data away unless you're putting controls in. So you have to be careful about that, and there are many legal departments that are hindering AI adoption as a result of that. And then the last thing is that power and energy. The electrical systems today, our power systems today, simply cannot produce enough power to support all the AI's implementations that they're expecting. I wish I had a number for Europe on this. I only have it for the US. Over the next 5 years, they project the United States will need another 100 million gigawatts, 100 million? Yeah, something, of electricity in our capacity to support AI. That's enough to power 82 million homes. We do not have the infrastructure to support that, and it's the same around the world. But all of these create opportunities for you, because what it means is that you can work with your customers in developing use cases and identifying the best places to apply AI. You can help them with their data center refreshes, helping them, and it's not just about selling them more boxes. So it's not just saying, let's go refresh your servers. You have to sell them the right ones. You have to actually build around the use cases to make sure that they get the optimal uses. Data management and consulting and data support is going to be a huge professional services opportunity over the next 5 years. And then also providing them with guidance on how to optimize their infrastructure, because they simply will not be able to afford the power and cooling costs that comes with these systems. So for every challenge in AI, there's a solution. And the thing is about these solutions is that they will create short-term opportunities that will automatically lead to another long-term adoption and revenue benefit. I mentioned before about the pace of change. And this is also becoming a big problem, is that unlike times before where we had a little bit of time, it was over a period of 2, 3, 5 years to be able to acclimate to a new technology or a new trend. Remember when we started getting into cloud computing? Cloud computing really started becoming available in 2003. Businesses didn't get excited about it until 2007, 2008. There was time to actually learn about it. And we really didn't even start to reach critical mass in cloud computing until 2010, 2012. Today, we're all racing into AI. And not only is that happening, but the AI wave is also causing other technologies to move ahead faster. And your customers are having a hard time with this. They don't know what to buy. They don't know where they should be placing their investments. In fact, yesterday I was in the Netherlands and I was listening to an economist talk about this, and she was saying that the huge excitement in AI is actually going to siphon off, is going to distract businesses from spending in other technologies where they need to make investments. So this pace of change is going to cause a lot of issues because, again, if you go back to what I just said about AI and talent, just generally speaking, there's just not enough talent in the market anyways. So they're going to be relying more on companies like yours to help them, guide them on making the right investments, selecting the right technologies, pulling together the right resources, and then ultimately leaning back to you to help support and augment their capacity. I mean, one of the things that we really believe is going to happen over the next few years is that managed services is going to switch from a more of a monitoring and maintenance or monitoring and management function to being a proactive augmentation of a customer's capacity to operate. We do see some customers that are saying, no, we don't want to outsource. We want to bring all this back in-house. We want to do this on our own. The reality is that there is just not enough resources out there. We need to have aggregation points, and the pace of change is going to help accelerate that. I want to drill in a bit more on the talent and staffing challenges. This is becoming an acute problem. Today, worldwide, we are short 4 million security specialists. There's just not enough security people, much less AI people, much less just general administration and developers and engineers. And this is a part of that demographic problem I was talking about. It's not just a matter of we're not having enough computer science students in school, there's just not enough people to put into that place. What is making this more acute of a problem is what I said about everybody being a technology company. You see manufacturing companies, healthcare companies, financial services, they're all building around this digital transformation, and they're hiring the same people that you are. They're hiring the same people as the vendors to come in and build their system, build and operate their systems. So not only are you competing with each other for talent and competing with your vendors for talent, you're competing with your own customers. And that is going to put a huge strain on everyone in terms of their ability to execute. But the challenges in this, the challenges this presents also creates that opportunity. You all are great aggregators of not just talent, but also of scalable capacity. And so with your resources, particularly this is where the managed service model actually does have a great value to the customer, is that you're able to scale your resources across more customers more effectively. And with automation, and automation is going to be becoming more and more powerful in terms of how to monitor and manage systems remotely, automation is going to be to your benefit. And so this is going to create that opportunity for you to be either the outsourced provider of many of the services that they need, or be a co-collaborator with them to augment their capacity. This is one that unfortunately is one that we're going to have to live with for a while, which is economic uncertainty. So we still have around the world persistently high inflation. This is particularly true here across Europe. I do believe, we were talking about it earlier, we heard about yesterday, the European Central Bank is expected to cut rates today, which should start to bring interest rates down, which should make capital more affordable. The expectation is the Bank of England will do so in August. The Federal Reserve in the U.S. is expected to lower interest rates sometime in the fall. This will start to make money more affordable. It will infuse economies with capital. But there's still a lot of uncertainty about what's going to happen next. If inflation, which has been persistently stubborn in terms of whether it's going to go up or going down, central banks only have one mechanism to control it, or at least counter it, and that's interest rates. So it's not a guarantee. And on top of that, inflation is not uniform. So the cost of food, the cost of transportation, the cost of housing is going up everywhere. And so that is making people and businesses not as optimistic about what they should be doing. So they're actually more resistant to making investments or spending the limited budgets that they do have. So this is going to be the new norm for at least the next couple of years. We're going to get used to it. I mean, when I hear people talk about high interest rates, I was like, I grew up in the 70s and the 80s when interest rates were 17-18%. This is nothing. But we still have to get used to it. We still have to recalibrate expectations. But again, the opportunities are here because through services, we're able to scale more services more cost effectively. But for companies like yours, this opens up the opportunity to actually do more planning, do optimization work with the customers, help them maximize their resources, help them make the most of their investments. And ultimately, AI is going to play into this because AI will help make this easier and faster. Every vendor and every company wants now to become a platform and become part of an ecosystem. I'm sure you've heard this as well, is that your vendor's saying that, first they're calling you as members of their ecosystem. But ecosystems are really about collaboration. And as much as we want to say that we want to leverage and harness the power of working together, it's not easy to do. It is, as all the vendors want to become more platforms, they want to bring more of collaborators, more companies like yours into their orbit to help them sell more complex systems to the customers. The problem is that how do you actually build those collaborations? How do you make them persistent? How do you build trust amongst each other? Now we know that you've done this with peers for years, but with the scale that's going to be needed to actually work with multiple resellers, integrators, service providers, independent software vendors in single engagements, that takes a lot more planning. And it takes a lot more coordination than what we have today. But again, we look at this and we say, yes, we can do this. That we can build more layers of trust. We can do more centralized planning. We can build architectures or use cases that we can then go out and sell at scale, knowing that when we're working with peers in more, not just in an ecosystem, but more of a federated system where we know where everybody in the system knows their role, know how they're supposed to provide it, and know what the outcome is supposed to be, we know that this is going to provide greater opportunities and is actually going to bring more lift to your companies. We're seeing more and more we see more marketplaces evolving. The customers actually want to buy through marketplaces and hyperscalers. The economics are in their favor. And if you listen to our friends at AWS, they say that only 15% of the workloads are in the cloud today. Which, when they say that, they mean that there's a lot more room to grow. They know the customer wants to be there. Gartner says, not my number, I'll just say Gartner, take it for what it's worth, says 83% of B2B buyers worldwide want to buy through a marketplace or a hyperscaler. This will help you eventually. It's creating conflict for you today. It's not easy for all of you to transact through hyperscalers. But ultimately, the systems are coming to where you're going to either be able to create your own digital sales platforms, plug into digital sales platforms, and collaborate with others that can facilitate it. This will open up new opportunities for you in professional services. The product sales, I believe, are not going to be as important to your businesses. It is what the product sales actually bring to your businesses in terms of add-on services. The other thing is that the customer expectations are changing. The customers want better outcomes. They want to measure you on how well you engage with them. 55% of end users will pay more for a product or a service if they have a better experience. Delivering experience is hard, though. It takes a lot of work, a lot of collaboration. You start to see companies bringing in customer success managers for this very reason. But if you're able to create that better experience, if you're able to help customers feel delighted about what they do with you, not just what you deliver in terms of technology, they will not just spend more with you, they will keep engaging with you and expanding their consumption. Over the next couple of years, you're also going to be called upon to do more to justify the cost benefit. As I said, inflation is not going to go away. The cost of capital, the cost of money is not going to get any cheaper. And what it means is that the companies that you're selling to and supporting want to have a greater assurance that the money that they're spending with you, that for every euro that's coming out of their pocket, they can get a return from it. It's not just about saving money. It's about helping your customers grow. And if you can put yourself in the position to not just being a technology advisor or a technology service provider, but a business advisor, one that can actually help them not just implement new software or new services, but help them transform their businesses to where they have greater output, then they will perceive you as having greater value. So as I said, the vendor community is quite vocal about this. They know that they need you. They know the customer needs you. They know that the customers need expert level knowledge and skills. They know that they need your resources and your capacity. The end customer simply can't do what you do. They also know that they need you all, and they need to engage in more of ecosystem sales models and collaboration in order to achieve not just scale, but effective outcomes. They also know that they need you to effectively cover the market. And we were having this conversation earlier, and I can say is that as much as there are some companies out there that want to create these super regional coverage models that says we can cover all of Europe, we can cover all of Asia through centralized partners or centralized distributors, the reality is that I can tell you now is that I love the Portuguese market. I don't fully know it. I would need all of you to help me with it. This is the power of the channel. Customers will need you to help access management and cloud services. Again, things that they think they know, they don't know. They also need you to help them with their credit and financing. I think over the near term, credit and financing is going to become more part of your portfolio, more part of your value proposition as much as the products you sell. And they are also going to need ongoing consulting and advisory support. Again, the customers know that they don't know everything. And the pace of change is going to cause them to turn to you to help guide their inspirations as well as their adoption considerations. There's a lot of information on these trends. I know 30 minutes, I could stand up here and talk with you about this all day, but there's much more behind all this. And I'm looking forward to spending the day with you, getting to know all of you, and continuing this conversation. So if you have questions, if there's more things you want to know, please come up and talk with us. We'd love to talk with you about it too. Thank you.